Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Infinity, and this is Magnetize Yourself, where we talk about life, love, spirituality, and of course, the law of attraction. In today's video, we are going to be doing a reading and energy update for our beautiful collective here on YouTube. So I don't really know what's going to be coming out in today's reading video. I am really just going to be using the cards and kind of following the trail of energy that wants to come through here. So let's go ahead and get started. And I'm starting today by shuffling the Energy Oracle Cards deck. So let's see what wants to come through here. What can I channel through for the collective? Okay, so the first card we have here is attachment. By the way, I am really leaving things open-ended. So the messages that come through could be related to your life generally, to your love life, to your career. They could be messages from your higher self, your spirit guides, however you personally define and conceptualize those more spiritual forces in your life. But I will let you know if I'm getting any specific indications, like that something is more related to romance or something of that nature. So with the attachment card and all tied up in the upright position, for some reason I'm seeing like a wedding dress or something about a wedding or a marriage. And with the all tied up card, I'm getting the feeling of someone being stuck in some sort of rut. And what I'm getting is something around traditional values. So I don't know if I'm talking about a person connected to you or in your life who's very traditional. I'm hearing who wants things done a certain way or who is really connected in with some kind of traditional value system or belief system. Yeah, this could be someone connected to you that I'm picking up on here. Of course, this could be an internal energy as well. But for many of you, I'm feeling it's external. Yeah, and there's someone feeling like they're in some kind of rut here. Because with the Sun card in the upright position, and I was about to say new beginning because that word just wanted, or those two words wanted to come through so strongly that it's almost like for the person coming up here, I have to say, this is a very nuanced energy coming through here. And I feel for some of you, this very well could be internal. I feel as though there could be some heaviness around wanting to do things in a traditional way or wanting to adhere to some kind of traditional value system or belief system or society's way of doing things. And although I feel that if you're part of the collective that frequently tunes in to this channel, then you are most likely someone who truly is breaking free from those bonds, from those limiting belief systems that bind most people to very specific timelines. You've become so free that you can quite literally travel between timelines. I'm hearing you're a timeline traveler, but it's because you don't lock yourself in to any one rigid system or way of doing things. You have this like fluidity or this flexibility about your energy. And I feel like there are people who have been kind of wanting you to compromise that flexibility or fluidity to do things in a more traditional way or a more rigid way. Now, these may be literal individuals in your life. I'm hearing talking about you. Maybe you've had people that you've felt have been kind of like talking about you behind your back or saying that they wish you would just do things in a more traditional way or go down a more traditional pathway of some kind, because I'm hearing they don't have the tools or resources to understand the way that you are doing things, to understand how you operate. because I'm hearing you are not operating on their frequency. Therefore, you're not operating in their world or by their rules or by their standards. I'm getting that kind of cliche message here about not taking advice from people who haven't been the places that you want to go. But I actually feel that's very relevant here, because what I'm picking up is that these are people or energies who haven't accomplished or done the things that you desire to do, that you are manifesting, or even some of the things that you've done. For some of you, you've already accomplished and manifested some of these things, and yet there are still individuals or maybe society trying to tell you, for some reason I'm hearing how to run your business. Maybe you have a business. Maybe this is just business in a general sense, like your career, your life, how you handle things. But I'm hearing it's worked for you so far. And the words spiritual confidence are coming through. I'm also getting something about the throat chakra. And I'm getting that you may have had moments recently, or you may have moments coming up for you where you're required to use your throat chakra. You're required to use your voice to almost like push back against some of these forces, not like in a harsh way per se, but I'm hearing to clearly express who you are, what you desire, to speak that into existence, to speak it into the world. And I'm hearing the best form of boundary is simply radiating who you are, radiating that authentic energy, especially through the throat chakra, because not only is the throat chakra connected to your literal voice, but your inner voice as well, you living in your truth. So that throat chakra energy is being really emphasized here right now. I'm getting that there are almost like people or forces that would prefer you to be more diluted, and you've been picking up on this. And at times, maybe even though you've been noticing that the way you're doing things is working, it's working for you, it's building momentum in the direction you want to move in, there may be moments of wondering, am I doing this the right way? I'm hearing something about competency, like you are competent, but there are times where maybe you have a form of imposter syndrome where like you're questioning what you've become such an expert in, which is your deep knowledge of the way that energy operates, how to direct energy to be the alchemist of your own life, how to manifest in your own beautiful, unique way. I'm just hearing messages around being confident in this path that you've been walking, because you've been on it for a while now. You've seen how what you're doing is working for you. And there's just such a strong message coming up about connecting those dots and staying strong in what you know. I keep getting it emphasized here by my guides that throat chakra is about your inner truth, aligning with what is true for you, even if it doesn't make sense to anyone else, and standing in that truth confidently, trusting what you know. There are also a lot of messages coming up about how you've been becoming a lot more intuitive lately in a more conscious way. And I would love to know in the comments if you've been noticing this, but I feel like you've had a lot more of those moments lately where it's like you're thinking of someone and then they call or text you, or you're thinking of something and then it happens, or you kind of wonder about something and then suddenly you're living in it. And this is a very clear indication. If any of these types of things have been happening to you, this is a strong sign that you've been really connecting in a more conscious way with your own intuition, with that throat chakra energy turned inward in some sense. Now, what I'm getting here as well, this relates to a download I received earlier today, and I didn't expect it to come up in this reading, but here it is. So let's talk about it. In this new space, this new energy, we've talked about how, and I mentioned this in Monday's reading, that you've been spiritually elevated, promoted in a sense, that your role has shifted. In Monday's reading, I described it as you are no longer the bridge, but the beacon. So you're no longer playing this role of bridging people to this higher version of themselves, to this higher consciousness by kind of getting down and dirty with them in a sense, getting in the lower vibrations with them, and then working your way up incrementally with them, and then dipping back down to connect with someone else who's at a lower vibration doing the same. This may have been how a lot of your interactions were going with people in your life in the past. But you've noticed that you're actually being blocked from connecting in the lower vibrational realms with individuals these days. And this is because your role has shifted. So if that's connecting for you and you didn't listen to that previous reading yet, I would really recommend that for more context there. But all of that is to say, for the purpose of this reading, that there's something else coming through about this spiritual elevation, about this new role that you're taking on. And this is more so related to your personal manifestations. And what I'm getting is that in the past, just like you were that bridge for others, you would kind of incrementally help them or assist them into higher levels of consciousness. In the same manner, you used to have to incrementally work your way into certain states of frequency that would allow you to magnetize in certain manifestations or certain realities. But I'm getting the words instantaneous manifestation. And what I'm picking up is that I know this sounds so crazy and so big, but this really is something that you're going to notice happening for you. And when I say instantaneous manifestation, what I mean is you no longer have to incrementally work your way into a frequency because you've been holding these higher vibrational frequencies for so long, so consistently, that you're already there. You are that beacon. You're shining that light. You're radiant. You're high vibrational most of the time. And as a result of this, you have this ability now to simply step into certain energies and manifest in a way that appears almost instantaneous. And the guides are saying that you can actually practice this in your day-to-day life in ways that may seem small to you at first, but know that even if it looks small, these are massive signs of confirmation that you're developing this ability. And you're going to be able to direct it in ways that appear to be bigger and bigger in your life when it comes to your manifestations. So what I'm getting is that you now have this ability to almost put on an energy the way that you would put on a coat or something like that. And what it reminded me of was the Marilyn Monroe effect. And for those of you who aren't familiar with this, essentially, Marilyn Monroe was in New York City with a friend. I believe it was New York City. Don't call me out on the details of this, but you'll get the gist. And they were just walking around the street like normal. No one was really recognizing her, even though, of course, she was famous. And she said to her friend, "Do you want to see me become her?" And she shifted something about her energy, almost like flipping a switch. And the friend said that suddenly, even though they were walking down the same street, everyone was turning to look at her, to stare at her. They were like mesmerized by her. They were recognizing who she was. But the thing is, she didn't change anything about how she looked physically. She instantaneously stepped into an entirely different energy, the energy of Marilyn Monroe, so to speak. And it was almost like an invisibility cloak was thrown off and people suddenly knew who she was or were wondering who she was. She had that aura about her. So Marilyn Monroe had the ability to do this. And what I'm getting is that you have this gift as well. You have this ability to shift into an energy instantaneously and see results from it. I'm hearing manifestation doesn't have to be a long process for you anymore. And it also doesn't have to be something related to literal concrete fact. Now, what I mean by that is, for Marilyn Monroe, she was widely known to be extremely beautiful. But when she was walking down the street without putting on that energy, people weren't looking at her. They weren't staring at her. They weren't noticing her appearance. And so nothing changed in terms of literal concrete fact about the way she looked. It was the energy that changed. So what I'm getting is that in your life, you may be thinking things have to change on the surface before you can get what you want, because that's what society tells us. They tell us that things have to literally change and shift in measurable, concrete, physical ways in order for us to attract what we desire, or to become or embody who we desire, and to experience the manifestations that come along with that. But what I'm getting is that you're going to notice that you can shift into an energy instantaneously that entirely alters your world, that totally alters how you experience your reality and the manifestations that come in as a result of that. So the guides are really emphasizing that you can try this out for yourself, that in the middle of a day, if it pops into your mind that, I'd really like this to happen, you can simply shift into the energy of it. You can imagine that it's already happening, that that's just who you are. You can do this just like I'm hearing you can make it easy. You can just flip that switch within your mind. You don't even need any tool in that moment. You don't need to even necessarily in that moment do a meditation, do a visualization, do a manifestation practice. You are the meditation. You are the manifestation practice, because you are the magic. It's all your energy. And yes, most people rely really heavily on those tools when they're manifesting in the beginning. And even in this collective, I know that many of us have our routines, our rituals, things that we rely upon. And of course, I always recommend doing whatever feels good and aligned for you. I have my own personal daily energetic hygiene practices. But what I'm getting is it's almost like those daily rituals for you provide this foundation that naturally allows you to vibrate at this higher rate. And then from there, throughout the day, you're going to notice that when you desire something specific, a specific outcome, a conversation, something happening, all you have to do is intend it, to decide, okay, I want to experience that, to just quickly in the moment in your mind, imagine that it's happening. And it's almost like you're paving this instantaneous pathway forward to that particular outcome. Now, do keep in mind that this kind of instantaneous manifestation is like a muscle. So what this means is that the more you exercise it on smaller things, just like lifting smaller weights, this is going to allow you to build the muscle, to build that faith and confidence in yourself and your ability to flip into energies like this. But I know that this was a bit random in the reading, but very fascinating that you've come into this ability. And once again, I feel that someone's guides are emphasizing here that those daily manifestation rituals, whatever you use that works for you, those are still very important, because they provide, okay, why are these so important? I'm receiving a lot of downloads around this right now. So the reason these are important isn't for manifesting specific outcomes in your life. It's to keep you at that vibrational level consistently, that allows you to then have this ability more consciously, where you can access specific outcomes, specific manifestations, different realities, because you're already vibrating at that high level. But there's something else coming through about part of the reason these rituals are so important is because they are also clearing out negative or lower vibrational energies that may have tried to kind of attach to you, or may have kind of gotten embedded a little bit in your aura during the day. So for you, maybe this is like saging your space, doing meditation, breath work, yoga, getting out into nature, whatever this is for you. Now, personally, you guys know I love using subliminals. I like to use them overnight while I'm sleeping when I can. I really notice a huge result from that. But I also listen to them while I'm meditating and doing my journaling. And so Subliminals for me personally really help to deeply clear my energetic fields. If you do want to use these subliminals that I have created and personally use myself, then you can find them in my app, which the name of the app is Sound and Soulful. And you can now find it in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store. And I'll also leave, or I always really leave, a download link to it at the bottom of the description box under these videos. I just wanted to share that little plug there because I do use that every day for my own energy clearing. But really, regardless of what tools you are using, the benefit here is twofold, but it's not necessarily for manifesting specific things at this phase of your spiritual journey. It's for clearing out those negative or lower vibrational energies, those kind of toxic energies that you pick up, which the guides are also stepping in to say here that you're more sensitive to those energies, especially because you're operating at this higher level, because you're shining that light so intensely. I mean, it's like moths to a flame, right? You are the flame, you're shining that light, so you're going to attract a lot of moths. And sometimes these moths, by the way, are going to come in the form of people who want to attach to you, who are very drawn to your light and want to like cling on to you in some way. And this doesn't have to be physical, by the way. These people, they may not even be individuals that you are communicating with frequently or that you are necessarily seeing very often even. But the thing is about these individuals that they can kind of cling on to you psychically. Wow, this is an interesting message coming through, but let me circle back to this because I said that your daily energy kind of practices, rituals, whatever that is for you. By the way, I would love to hear in the comments what you do to kind of clear your energy, to stabilize yourself, what those rituals are for you. I'm sure that the community here would be really inspired to know what you do personally in regards to all of that. But I said that the benefit of that was twofold. And the second benefit is, again, as we said, almost like an elevator, right? When you do those routines and rituals, it's like getting into an elevator and rising up to the highest floor that you can, and then stepping out on that floor. Now, of course, the elevator moving up is you raising your vibration, and that new floor is the new potential reality filled with so many potential people, connections, opportunities, things that can meet you at that level, those specific manifestations. So you're raising your frequency through these routines to a level where you then have access to those things. And so then throughout the day, you might run into different ideas, different moments of creativity, things might pop into your mind. And that's when you can actually just like step into the energy of it, right? You can just embody it. You can flip it like a switch because you already did the vibrational work to rise to that level where you can see it, where you have access to it. And then you can manifest it by just like stepping into it. I hope this is making sense. We are talking about like quantum manifestation here. This is cutting edge material. So thank you to all of you who are co-creators here, because all of these videos really are co-creation. So thank you for bringing your energy here. But it's interesting because something else coming through is that when you get into the elevator and raise your frequency and get to a new level, what you have to understand is that what to you looks like a floor may look like a ceiling to someone else. And I feel that you have people in your life or from your past who truly cannot comprehend what you're doing right now. Like, when I say they can't comprehend it, I actually mean this literally. And let me know if you've experienced this, but have you found recently that there are people who it's like, they're, yes, like intelligent, smart people, maybe even eloquent. They can hold a conversation. They listen. They make an effort to remember things. But when you give them a certain piece of information, or when you tell them something about yourself, about your past, or about your life, your vision, your projects, your work, your passions, whatever this is for you, have you ever noticed that with some of these individuals, even if they're perfectly intelligent, eloquent, all of those things, it's like they cannot process what you are saying? Have you noticed this happening? because I've definitely noticed it in my own life. And I feel that many of you have as well, where you will say something to someone and suddenly in that snap instant, it's almost like you're speaking a different language, because from a vibrational perspective, you kind of are. You're speaking, it's almost like there is light language, there's light codes, there's energy behind those physical words that they cannot process. So their mind simply rejects it. It's kind of like, I know you guys have probably seen videos like this, and there's many examples of this, but I remember in school, we watched a video of a team playing basketball, and they said, keep your eyes focused on the basketball. So we all kept our eyes focused on the basketball. And then as we were doing that, there was like a gorilla or some animal that was just walking in the background. And the craziest thing is, none of us noticed it because we were so focused on the basketball, our mind filtered out everything else. This is related to, of course, the reticular activating system, which we could go so much deeper into in another video, and how this plays into manifestation, because there's actual science and research behind this that I know many of you are familiar with as well. But essentially, you are like that animal in the background, and the ball that people are focusing on is like how they perceive reality. There are times where, and there's so much I want to say on this that's coming through just now. So first of all, what I want to say is, you wouldn't be having these conversations and interactions with these individuals consistently if they were not kind of in your vicinity, right? But the thing is, and this is actually a message that came through when I was meditating today, I didn't even write it down, it just stuck in my mind, but it's that you push people beyond the limits of what they believe is possible. And so essentially what you have to understand, it's almost like, I feel like I need a whiteboard right now. Maybe I'll do that in a future video, but I am imagining a Venn diagram. And so there's two circles with a little bit of overlap in between. And you have your circle over here, and you're in 5D, you're in these super high vibrational realities. You're like in this magical world. You're that beacon, right? And then you have the other circle in the Venn diagram. This represents a lot of people that you are meeting and connecting with right now. They have this whole life that they're mostly living more so from a 3D perspective. They may have a lot of rigid, limiting belief systems, ideas, that kind of thing, but they're beginning to open their mind a bit more. And that's that space that you overlap. That's the place that you connect. But essentially, there's so much over here about you in that fifth dimensional space that many of these individuals quite literally cannot process. Even though they want to listen to you, even though they want to be in your life, they energetically are not on that level, like that floor where they can even see or understand what you're talking about. You're on a higher floor in the building, and yet they have this kind of peripheral level of access to you. And so what happens is, because there's that overlap, that space that you meet in the middle, you are able to communicate with each other fairly well until it comes to certain subjects or things that just like cause their reticular activating system to just like focus on what they believe is possible and completely miss whatever you're telling them, because it doesn't fit into how they view the world, what they believe is possible, their view of you. And so what happens though is, as you spend more time around them, slowly, very often, they start to grasp those things. They start to literally expand their mind, expand their consciousness a bit further. So it's not that you're moving from that place of being that beacon. You're still that circle over there. This is interesting because we talked about your new spiritual role, and this may actually represent a lot of what that new role consists of for you, where you're kind of meeting these people in the middle, but not by going to them, right? You are living in your magical circle here. And these individuals have shifted enough in their circle that there's that Venn diagram overlap between you where you're meeting and connecting. And then slowly they're getting pulled more into your space, meaning into this higher vibrational reality. They're pushing the limits, the boundaries of their own idea of what they believe is possible. Because, often it's initially motivated by wanting to connect with you, wanting to have you in their life in some capacity, but slowly it begins to open their mind to new realities. However, you're still always there as that consistent beacon. You're no longer like shifting your circle down into 3D, if that makes sense. But there are a lot of people meeting you here in the middle in that kind of Venn diagram scenario. However, the thing is, you are not meant to be influenced by them. You're meant to be strong, stable, steady in your lane, in your magical little reality. And I feel that the complication here is not taking it personally when someone's circle kind of drifts all the way over into 3D and there's no longer that overlap. This, I feel, kind of piggybacks on what we were talking about in Monday's reading about people who ghost you. I feel like that's the moment that people often ghost you or disappear in a sense from your reality. It's when it's not anything that you do. In fact, it's what you're not doing. It's that you're not sacrificing yourself, your vibration, your vision, your destiny timeline to lower yourself, to connect with them more consistently in the physical realm. You're staying the course. They're drifting at times down into more of a 3D space, more of a lower vibrational space. And it's like removing that place in the Venn diagram where the two of you were connected. You're now just like separate circles, if that makes sense. I know that it's kind of overkill with this analogy, but I feel like this could be really helpful for someone listening. So that's the moment that people seem to disappear from your reality, seem to ghost you. You could literally contact these people and they could want to respond and they won't. Or they could contact you and the message like wouldn't go through, or if it did, like you wouldn't see it. Or whatever. You literally will be blocked from interacting and communicating in a real, meaningful, consistent way if someone drifts kind of further down into lower vibrations and that circle no longer overlaps with your like level of consciousness. They close off their mind. They close off their energy. Not to say they can't ever rise back up to that level to connect with you, just that they aren't doing that in that moment. And it's no longer your spiritual role to dip down and try to connect with them from where they are. You're meant to be the beacon that you are. So, wow, I was not expecting this reading to go in this direction whatsoever. I really feel that this was a manifestation of many of you listening who may have come from Monday's reading and maybe you wanted more clarification from that reading, because I do almost feel like this was sort of a part 2 to that. So if you were one of those who manifested this through today, thank you. I would love to hear from you as well in the comments, any thoughts that you have or anything you want to share with our community here. And of course, if you do enjoy these readings, I would love for you to subscribe, join our beautiful community of like-minded, conscious, creative beings here on YouTube. You can also follow me on Instagram at Magnetize Yourself, where I post more energy updates, inspiration, and information. So I'm going to take this over to the extended reading. So if you do want to dive deeper into these messages, you are so welcome to join me in the extended version of the reading. We'll be continuing on with this. The extended readings often get a lot more specific and personal, and I'm really expecting that here today. So if you want more of a personal reading, I really recommend heading over to the extended. The link to that will be in the pinned comment and description box under this video. This extended reading will be available through both YouTube memberships and Patreon, so you can use either link depending on your personal preference. But otherwise, I am closing the reading here. Thank you so much again for tuning in today. I am sending you all huge amounts of love, wishing you an amazing remainder of your day and week, and I will connect with you here again in Friday's reading.